Today's video we are going to be looking at heated, which is this tub, versus unheated, which is this tub. We're going to compare the fish at the same ages, obviously some same spawning, and see what difference. Welcome back to Orchard Koi for today's video. So today we're going to be looking at the difference between heating your koi and not heating your koi when it comes to growing. I'm going to be using the fryer that we've been looking at this season in the growing show that I'm doing, and the differences between a set that has been grown under heat and a set that has not been grown under heat and has just followed the seasonal fluctuations. As you can see, and as you all know, all the fish that you can see at the minute are grown under heat, and they're all doing really well. I'm looking forward to the season coming to a close and getting these out to see what we've achieved this year, but all looking absolutely fantastic. I'll just let you have a look at these for a moment because it has been a while since I've done an update on these tubs. As you can see, all looking really good. Really pleased with this system, and a reminder for anybody who's new to the channel, this system is run on a drum and on 120 kilos of alpha glog and an ozone unit. Nothing else, no fancy moving bed, no other fancy types of media, some of the most basic stuff, but obviously with the technological side of the drum. So very pleased with how it's working. However, you will see a lot of floating crap in this water because of the amount of food that I am chucking in here, but we'll talk about that at a later date in terms of the amount of food that you go through and what you need to do. Today I just want to focus on the heat. So for those of you who don't know, heating koi for growth is generally considered to get yourself north of 24 degrees Celsius. That's where it starts, that's where you're in your best spot. You also have other benefits, delivering immune systems, etc. Above there you need three things. You need your heat, obviously is the first one. You need good water and filtration, and then you need a good food, and you need plenty of it. You need a system that can cope with it. If you do that, you can start pushing the realms of what kind of growth you'll get, and then you can worry about colour and pattern management all after that. So yeah, that's these guys. Let's move on to the fry in just a bit. So the first thing I need to do is get them all out. So I'm making sure I only pick out the ones here from the very first sorting, because I don't want to compare ones that were sort of half and half, so you can see the difference in progress. So this took a while, but there we go. Alright, so fast forward a bit, got most of them out, got a good selection of sizes. I've got the biggest ones, the white one and the Aragoki Matsuba type one there are the biggest. So wide array. So these are obviously the same age as the ones that you're going to see next to them now. So these guys originally came in on May the 16th when I got the whole batch together, and I did my first sort out on May the 26th after a couple of weeks of bringing them on with brine shrimp. So they were both heated to that point, and I will show you a segment of what they were like at that stage. Now since then, obviously you can see there's been some quite wild differences in size. The ones in the blue bowl, the smallest are 15 centimeters, most of them ranging between 17 to 19 centimeters at this point, and even more so within the second batch that you're going to see here in my ones that I've kept to grow on further when I pulled those out. So they've had quite a different amount of time. So from May 26th, I said they were originally split, and then these ones on the right were kept till August the 8th. So that's the difference in time. So you're talking just over 2 months in terms of their heated versus non-heated. Temperature wise, the heated has been sitting at a minimum of 25.5 degrees and has got up to 28, 29 degrees in the polytunnel with the heat that's been generated through the sun. On the flip side of that, these ones that you can now see that haven't been heated have just followed the temperature of the season, and they have spent a few days in a period of time at 24 degrees, but that dips quite dramatically overnight where they're falling back down to 20, sometimes just under 20 with the weather that we've had. So, and that is probably one of the biggest things that you'll see when you're heating, is the lack of fluctuation. You're getting to keep a stable temperature for your system throughout the night, and then obviously ready to start the next day. So you're getting the peaks, but you're not getting all the lows that you would get, and that's probably one of the main benefits of it. So obviously you're still feeding, these are still being fed, but I cannot feed them as much. A, they don't eat it. If you put on the same amount, they don't come up, they're not as active, they're not as fast, not as switched on, if you like. But B, the biggest thing here is your filter isn't switched on. The bacteria in the filter, they've got an ideal temperature range, which is pretty much between 25 and 35 degrees C, depending on what realm you're working in when it comes to fish. And I'm expanding that across fish in general, not just koi. But you've also got the fact that at 18 degrees C, the growth rate of the bacteria in the filter is at 50% reduction. So it does not grow as quick as it does in its ideal scenario. Now, Nitrobacter and the bacteria that we're dealing with are actually one of the slowest growing bacteria that you can see, that we use when it comes to the bacterial world, and they can take sort of 16 hours to multiply at the best of times. So obviously if you're adding in lower temperatures, you're increasing that amount as well. So you're just slowing your filter down, and it's much harder, I find, to build up a filter in cooler water than it is in warmer water. Anyone who set up a tropical fish tank, you'll obviously know how straightforward a cycle can normally be when you're going through it. But so this one that I'm just about to show you here, this has hit 13 centimeters. This is the biggest one of the bunch. Would have carried on growing if I'd carried on heating it. The ones that are in the final keep bowl now are all sort of ranging from 19 centimeters all the way up to 20, 21, slightly over. These, as you can see, aren't budging on at all. And this isn't the case of just the deformed ones. I got rid of the deformed ones. So this is just ones that I selected out because I didn't like their pattern or their size at that point in time, which most of my first selection was done on pattern and shape, not really much to do with size at all. I gave quite a few smaller ones a chance, and in fact I've still got one of the smallest ones in the final batch. So I think it's very much worth considering how you set your system up, what you're going to spend your money on. I've said this before, you know, this hobby is expensive. Some of the fish are absolutely ridiculous. You can pay silly money for Tosai, depending on where you get them from. If you are going to be buying Tosai, I would strongly recommend you have a heated environment for them, at least to begin with. No one's saying you need to heat your pond all year round, all throughout, to keep fish, not at all, but you can successfully do it without it. But if you want to grow Tosai, I would strongly recommend that you set your system up so you can heat them as best you can for a decent period of time, because this is what you'll get. This is the difference. So looking at the bowl of all of them together when I pulled them out for the final salt, you can see the complete difference in the fish, because they've had more food, because they've eaten more, they've grown more, they've developed more, their body shapes have come on more, they've actually grown instead of maybe getting fat as well if they have grown, and then obviously their immune system switched on, so they're more resilient to diseases and other issues within the water that you may get. So let's just have a look at my final selection and talk about the fry and the challenge in general. I've really enjoyed this. It's been a good experience. I've learnt loads from it. Picking out from a very small fry has been really interesting, and my favourite small fry at the first selection is still my favourite fish now. It has developed as I wanted it to, so I'm really pleased with that. I'm not going to go through which one that is at this moment in time, because I've got to select one of these to put into the final competition. So, but yeah, really pleased with how it's done. It's been challenging. I wanted to try and grow on as many as I could in one hit, and I'm in the IBC, and I hit capacity around 50 of the fish as they sort of are approaching the 16-17 centimetre mark. I was finding it ever harder to keep on top of the water quality and keep the level of food in that I wanted. So we're down to the final 16, 15, I can't remember, I can't lose count, can't count properly. But these are the guys that I'll be taking further forward now and see what they can do. So anyone who fancies giving it a go, highly recommend it. It's great to learn from, so you can see how the fish develop. And it also makes you realise the potential of the growth in some of these fish. Obviously when you're buying Tosai in March, February time that were from either last year's early spawning and they're only sort of 15 centimetres, you've lost a lot of growing time, and that's made me realise that even more, and made me a bit more aware of what people are advertising the fish's ages at. Doesn't matter if you're not trying to gram to jumbo, of course it doesn't, but if you are trying to push to that, you know, some people their goal is that metre length, then you've lost a lot of growing time. So it's been quite eye-opening for that, because these have come on absolutely fantastic in that time. So I hope you've enjoyed that, guys. As ever, please do give us a like, please do subscribe. If you're new to the channel, check us out our previous videos, and until next time, guys, I will